Does anyone else put on perfume when they're just going to be online? This episode is sponsored by my child screaming in the background. There'll be some of that. Hello everyone, author DL Tillery here, the Mistress of Horror, and welcome back to my channel. Before we get started, how about you press that subscribe button, give this video a like, and ring that bell so you know when I'm uploading new videos. Welcome to the Mistress, Mood, and Candlelight, where I talk about horror, gothic, dark, books, movies, or video games, and while I put on makeup. What I'm covering today is the Gothic romance supernatural story, Nightshade, which is a duology, but this will be about book one called Nightshade. So enjoy that, and I will see you on the flip side. Jumping right into priming for the premiere. So this is going to be just the initial what the story is about, so I get to jump you right in. Now, I'm obviously priming my face right now for foundation later. The story's main leads, there's pretty much two main leads, the male lead and the female lead. The female lead's name is Farron Ravenshaw, and the male lead's name is Jericho Van Crox. Very interesting name for him. I really actually like his name. It's pretty interesting. I can gather that their ages range. I believe the female lead is in her 30s, and the male lead is older, but this is supernatural. Anyway, before we go into all those type of instances, it is a gothic romance supernatural story, which is like perfection. I love the mixture. I love that. A good thing to talk about before we jump into the story is for you to know that in the book, the way it is structured is each chapter is from the different point of views. For instance, you're going to get two different perspective styles in this book, and that is third person perspective and first person perspective. In this case, you will also be getting three different character points of views throughout the book. One of the characters' points of views dies off a little bit later in the book for story progression reasons. That being said, you will come across Lucina, which is another character in the story that's like the third character, kind of, sort of, but we'll get into that later. And then you have, of course, Farron, and then, of course, you also have Jericho. So these are the perspectives. Jericho has two different perspectives in the book for his chapters, at least partially way through the book, and then it changes to the main type of perspective being the first person perspective. The reason of that is because Lucina's and Jericho's chapters early on in the book, mixing also with the present chapters, are past chapters, past tense chapters, meaning it's in the past. So we have present, and then we have the past and the present as far as the story structure of when things are occurring. And Lucina's are always in the past, and parts of Jericho's are in the past. That being said, you kind of get used to it. Some people may not like that, but I think it worked for the story because of the way it's being told. So it's kind of a requirement. So when Lucina's chapters are active, it is in third person perspective because of it being in the past, and that's the way she wanted to tell it. And then Jericho, some of his, because of being in the past portions as well, some of his are in third person perspective. It's not very confusing because each chapter is labeled with the character's name. So you'll have Farina at the top, or you'll have Lustina at the top of the chapter, or you'll have Jericho's name at the top of the chapter. So it's not going to be confusing about whose perspective this is from. That was pretty easy to tell. You'll be fine. It's not like you won't be able to tell what's happening or whatever, or when something is happening, because again, the past base chapters are in third person perspective, and then the present day chapters are first person perspective. So again, it's not like you're going to be confused on that. I mean, I would hope not, but just listen to what I'm saying here. It's not that bad. It's really not, and I think it worked out fine. But like, I know some people can get confused easy, but I think she did it. The writer did it very well, and I don't think that that's an issue too much. I didn't even say the writer's name, did I? I know you saw the name on the cover, but I still should have said the author's name. Nightshade by Keri Lake is what we're talking about. So definitely check her out. You probably saw the name on the book when I showed the picture, but still, I still want to say her name. Like, why didn't I say the name? I am primed, and so is the book, for you to hear more about the story. A warning for this book: there is violence, there is loss of limbs, there is grape. We can't say with the R on YouTube. There are instances of that. Not detail going into that type of attack on a person, but it is in there where it almost happens all the way. So I'm just warning you ahead of time that that is in there. She does give a warning about that, but especially when you read the ebook, that those are things that's in it. So if you have, those are your trigger warnings. So if you have an issue with those things being in a book, then do tread lightly and make your own decision on that. Let's get into the characters. So before we jump in, I'm going to be doing a look that is based mostly to the colors on the cover, which is red and black. So I'm doing a red and black color set. So anyway, let's jump into the characters. Meet Lustina. Black raven hair and stardust eyes. That's a very big thing about her features in the story, and you'll see why in a second. She starts off as a child of about 14 or 15 years old in the story. At the point in the story when it starts, she must watch her own mother be burned at the stake for being a witch. Yes, the time set for that is part of Lustina's story. So she's burned at the stake by this crazy bishop, and yeah, so after they burn her mother stake, dragging her mother to the place where she gets burned, she is taken in by the church, and has to deal with the bishop who burned her mother alive for any amount of time after the fact. So he's like in charge of her, and like, so she's taken in and always told that she's bad and that she's, she has the evil in her, like her mother and all those type of things that they would do when they accuse the woman of being a witch. And yeah, that part. She is pretty much forced into a type of servitude by her mother's murderer. That's pretty much Lustina from the start. It's pretty messed up, to say the least. Next, meet Farron Ravenshaw. Farron Ravenshaw is the other female lead, I would say. And she has black raven hair and stardust eyes as well. Question marks, everyone. I wonder why they have the same hair color and eye color. That's weird, isn't it? Especially since stardust eyes are very not like something everyone has. Miss Ravenshaw is a research assistant and also a lecturer, I should say. She is also that. It's her job and career choice. From her start of the story, she is dealing with her father missing. A detective comes to her place of work, And he's like, I need you to look at these pictures, and they're gruesome pictures. And she's like, what's wrong with this guy? Why is he showing me this? Like, do you show like civilians this type of stuff? Like I know you do because you're trying to think, but like, what's going on here? And to top it all off with the crazy detective coming in her job when she's actually going on leave. Like, she's going on leave for a couple of months because on top of the fact that her father is missing, her aunt, who pretty much raised her since their teens because of issues with her father, has passed away, and she has a lot of stuff to take care of for her aunt's like estate and whatever. And then she also left her a nice inheritance as well. So that's helpful. You know what I mean? You have to deal with like taking care of all the things of when someone passes, but not to worry about finances. Not that she did, because she obviously had a pretty good career. Not that they mentioned what she made, but we can take a guess since she is a research assistant and a lecturer. So I'm sure she made decent money. Anyway, she also has a odd birthmark on her upper arm that is very important to the story, mind that. And there's a connection of that mark between her and Lucina. As far as her personality goes and her status, I guess as far as like her personal status, she is single and she is very self-reliant and headstrong. I will definitely give her those pointers to let you know that she is definitely those things. So get, getting into her personality is gonna be kind of fun later. And I'm not trying to do a spoiler. I'm trying to do a spoiler free thing, but I'm just giving you details that's pretty easy and you find out about early on. You can probably skim this and find this stuff out like very, very soon. So still considering this going to be a non-spoiler type of a review and chat about this book, with just giving you important notes to try to, make sure you know about it and understand what you're getting into when you read this book. Meet Jericho Van Crox. I really like his name. Jericho is the dark, mysterious, and handsome male lead, which isn't too surprising for a gothic romance style book or story. He is very overbearing at times. He is, but lack of a obsessed, and it is that word is used. He even says it. So obsessed with the female lead a bit, which we'll get into later. But he definitely is on the set of being obsessed with her, in love with her. But the obsession is there. I mean, he even says like, "I'm obsessed with you." Like, I'm obsessed with you. So, and but the female lead is into that. So I guess that's how they are gonna slice of that one. They're not, some people are gonna be into it, some people are not gonna be into it. I'm not really bothered by it at all. So it's kind of like you like what you like in books, or don't like or bothered by something. So yeah, that's gonna come up, and he can be overbearing, like overprotective. So like there's these people like this is red flags. I'm like, oh yeah, well, it's supernatural. I'm warning you now. He's not a human. So there's that. So of course he's dark, mysterious, and handsome because dark, and he has blue eyes and dark hair. So, I guess that's gonna all fit in. That's all gonna fit in very well with the looks of the characters. Like, obviously, we're surprised he's handsome. Like, did we expect otherwise? We did not. In the past, he is known as the Baron, so he gets called the Baron a lot because he is Baron. In the past settings, he does have, like, you'll see his father mentioned, the bishop, Mr. Lovely Bishop is mentioned. Lucina will be in his past ones as well, and like his mother and things like that. So those type of characters, like all the other sub characters and things like that, are in his past chapters. In Jericho's case, he is sometimes called Death. He is sometimes called a Sentinel, which is another type of supernatural being of a mixture that makes a Sentinel in this story. Also, he's called Evil and more. He's called many, many things. He does carry himself in a bossy, selfish manner at times. That's his younger self that is bossy and selfish. And then as he's older, he still is bossy, can be somewhat selfish and overprotective, as I mentioned, jealous, as well, which I think that was always coming with the overprotectiveness. So he pretty much more or less stays the same. I don't really think he like his character changes some at the very very end of the book when you ready to go into book 2, but not a lot. So he's pretty much him. Like, this is him. You take him or leave him, and it is what it is. Like, but there, as I mentioned, some of the other characters in his past one, there are other side characters and characters that play into the story. But these are the 3 mains that I wanted to shed some light on, because they're the main ones that's going to progress the story. The sub people will obviously help it along, but these are the mains that we want to know about. So on to the plot. I mentioned some of the plot points a little bit earlier about Farina's father missing. Kind of leads from there for her. She's looking for him. She doesn't know where he is. She knows he's a researcher in these different belief systems, called I think there's a Pencrox. He's been researching them for a long time. It has to also do with the symbol on her arm. So she's really looking for him. And what's that? Did she believe any of that? That comes into play. So if she believes in that, then she also just can't, like, she doesn't. She's like, I don't really believe in this, but I need to find him, and I know he believed in this stuff, but like, is my dad just a nutbag? Like, is he just crazy type of situation? She's kind of really on that for a minute. So, and with that, she finds out, he believed in a place called Nightshade, and Nightshade is obviously the name of the book. Roll credits. But so she finds out about Nightshade. She really looks into it, and end up leading her to finding out that Nightshade is an actual place. So she finds a way to go to Nightshade. I'm not going to get into the details. You do want to read the book. How she gets into Nightshade. She meets someone who is supernatural. That's all I'm going to say about that. And then she finds the way to get into Nightshade. The supernatural beings are there. The Fallen. They have the Sentinels. They have the Cambion. They have the Nephilim, which you can look all these up. She actually has a glossary in the front of the book for people who don't know about these things. Nephilim, you have the angel and human mixing together. You have the demon and the human mixing together, which is the Cambion. The Nephilim will be the angel and the human. And then the Sentinel, I believe, is the angel and demon mixture, as far as I remember in the book. They aren't always called that in other people's stories or in just like Googling the information behind these supernatural creatures, but she's calling them Sentinels in this because of them being like guards and going after the fallen and things like that. So you get this instance of the supernatural in this story that is Gothic romance. So following her father's footsteps, she is led to Nightshade. And the fact that she is led to Nightshade leads to this very odd place. When she lands there, she's being chased. There's monsters, and she doesn't know what's going on. So she gets taken to a town, and then she's looking for Mr. Van Crox, as she is told to look for, because there is like this note, and there's this thing saying to go look for Van Crox. That's who you need to find, and things like that. So she's like looking for him too, Nightshade and all these things. And that's how she gets there. She crosses paths with Jericho by mistake, which is Van Crox. So that's what she's looking for, but she kind of comes across him while she goes into Nightshade. This woman picks her up on the road, and then on a horse and buggy. So very old style. And then they go to the town, and it's a cathedral, hence the Gothic setting of being in a castle or a manor and then running away from the thing. All those things are here in this instance, so she didn't miss a point on that. They do mention in the story that both have been having dreams for years or for a time, pretty much until they kind of like about one another. So it's kind of like they kind of know each other in the dream setting. So immediately once they meet, there's a heat. There is a energy charge. There is passion that's brewing underneath. And Mr. Van Crox is very passionate in the things that he does. So this is the plot where the romance comes into play between Farron and Jericho, but Lustina is another part of the plot. and that's his first love interest, and it's in the past. So yeah. I actually felt a kinship with this book because it is very similar genre. That's the story of my first novel that's coming out this year. So because mine is a dark fantasy and it has romance elements to it for the story structure. So I was kind of like, wow, it's kind of funny how some of us writers can think similar things, though it's different the way we both did it, but it's still kind of cool. So that being said, that's pretty much the plot of the finding out where her father is. She's looking for him in Nightshade. She comes across Jericho. She was told to look for, and he's very off-putting for her at first and things like that. But she's also drawn to him. So that's what they're playing up. That's what we're going with the plot. Like, what's the outcome? What happens with Van Crox? Like, his story points are important as well because you go in the past and find out about him as well. So it's a lot going on here. That being said, I'm not going to go too much more into the plot because I don't want to ruin the story for you. I still want you to read just enough intrigue to let you know that this is a good story plot. I really liked it. So let's move on to the Gothic Elements and the SEX. Enter the Gothic Elements and the SEX section. The cathedral, the older time setting, the running away from said cathedral, the creatures, and the horror elements are definitely giving you the Gothic setting. Then obviously the romance. Obviously the romance is there, which we'll get to, and then the SEX. About that, if you can't handle detailed sex scenes, then this may not be the book for you. They have quite a few things going on. Just to give you just a little insight, there's bondage. Granted, on the low end of that, but there is some. Supernatural vibrators of sorts. For that, which I found very intriguing. I was like, wow, that's different. I mean, it could have been done in other stuff. Like, it could have been done in other stuff, but I haven't read it. So I was like, wow, that's an interesting take on a mechanic that we humans use for pleasure. And, yeah. Yeah. Rough sex. Submissive sex. And it does house many sex scenes later in the book. I would say it definitely is later in the book. It's not like too early, as some will say. I mean, I don't mind it being early, obviously. So it's not late, but it's different ones, and later it's heavier. As far as the story is concerned, because you do have scenes with Lucina and Jericho, but more detailed scenes, I think, with Farron and Jericho in this case. Yes. I enjoyed them. I thought they were good. But again, if you aren't into, having sex in your books, then maybe don't read this one. They're good scenes, but they may not be for everyone, and they do get the blood flowing. It may not also be to everyone's taste for those type of scenes. Just a heads up. But again, if you're not bothered by like specific types of scenes like that, if you're not bothered by details and things like that, then you probably will be fine. I was fine. Moving right along to my favorite parts and some things some people may not like. My favorite part is the supernatural beings, things like that. I love that type of stuff in my stories and my books, stuff that completely grounded in human reality. I really much prefer my stuff to be supernatural and otherworldly based. So that, of course, that's my favorite part. Not everyone is into that, but that's why I'm here for this story. I really, really, really liked those aspects of it that kind of just solidified my enjoyment of this thing. So it was just that's like the best part for me. I was really into that. I was so pleasantly surprised and happy when I found all these different types of beings was in it, and then this was like really based around that. So that's my favorite part of it. Now, one of the things that some people may not like about this story, the part about the male lead being obsessed with the female lead might turn some people off. They might be, really in their feelings about, our human stuff that goes on. So they might not like those aspects of his character, where him being obsessed with Baron and or Lucina at certain points, but that's just this kind of part of the story and how it goes. You don't have to like it. If it's not something you want to read, then I suggest not bothering with it. If those type of aspects, like, because he doesn't really change, in my opinion, as far as that concerned, because that's who he is. So it's not like people are who they are. So that's kind of like that's how it is. So you kind of have to take it or leave it in this instance. He even says like, I'm obsessed with you. Like, can you handle this? Like, blah blah. There's a scene where he has like all these pictures of her and stuff like that. So paintings, because he remembered her, like she wasn't there, but he like had all these paintings of of her. I mean, everybody's gonna be different about what they feel about this character and their relationship, the two characters' relationship. So I mean, you have to take it for what it is. I mean, again, if you don't want to read a story that's like that, then it's totally up to you, obviously. But if you're bothered by these things, then yeah, that just know that they're here in the book. I don't think it was that big a deal, but it's kind of like it just that's the story. Like, you have to just take it or leave it. Just like I said. So I I decided just to take it because I did like the story. It didn't bother me so much. I was still was like, my dude. Sometimes like, my dude. Um, but yeah, that didn't change my rating for the book or anything like that at all. Um, he is a sentinel. He is not human. So, people are like, well, like, yeah, but you still got to try to separate the concept of that, like, because we humans are conditioned and certain things goes on in our society that we learn to do, but, them being supernatural, it may not think certain things don't apply exactly the same, but, people can take that however they want. They can think about it however they want to at the end of the day. So it's kind of like, you gonna feel how you gonna feel about the thing. So you have to just decide how your entertainment, what you want to look at, what you want to read, what you want to watch, and all that, and interact with and such. So, and sorry, I'm not looking directly at you guys, but I'm trying to put makeup on too. So, but yeah, that's just how the cookie crumbles on that instance. So that's the only thing I think that some people may have a problem with, like, his interaction with the female lead. He is in love with her as far as the story is concerned, and then obsessed, like, nobody else is going to do for him, obviously. But that's not necessarily a bad thing in that instance, but his obsession could be, like, in humanness is dangerous. I really enjoyed the book. I thought it was well executed. I did like the layout because it did keep it all under control. About like splitting the different characters, chapters, and getting the story told and getting everybody's details in there in your head, so you got to know everyone. So I did enjoy that layout. Not everybody will enjoy that layout, but I did, however, enjoy that layout. With that being said, I gave this book a 5-star rating on Goodreads and Amazon. Um, I really did enjoy it. I think a lot of people would enjoy it. I'm not. It's she's from a Kara Lake is a best-selling author, so it's not like she's unknown or anything like that. I didn't know about her, so, and I read a lot of books, so I'm kind of was glad to be introduced to her because I was doing the Gothic Hearts Challenge. So that's that was really good. I was glad to come across her because I can't wait to read part two, which I'm really looking forward to reading. And she has other plenty of other books. So I'm really going to be like, oh, I got to get these books. It was a page turner for me, hands down. I was completely into it. It was a slow start at first. I'm not going to lie. From the beginning end of it, it was a slow start for me. At around page 100 and so, 100 and a little over 100, like a 115, 110, it kind of took off for me there. So it took a little bit to get to that for me. Not that everybody would be the same on that, but I was definitely, it definitely took a little bit. Um, it took a little bit to get started for me. I liked it, but I still was like, it was completely a page turn for me once it hit the 100 mark. And then I was like, just eating it up. I wasn't like, this is boring, this is slow. Nope. And after that, no, nope. After that, I was completely. It's hard to talk when I'm putting on lipstick, guys. Um, I was completely taken, but I was in. I was all in after that. So, definitely 5 stars. Great book. You can read my review on Goodreads and on Amazon if you look up the book. I'll put the links below, obviously, for the book. It definitely checked my boxes. I'm excited to read the second book. I am. Um, like I said, I won't probably be reading until after I finish the other books in the challenge, mm, so I can actually get into, that whole spiel and get that done, and then I can come back to the second book for Nightshade duology. I am looking forward to that because the story is not done. When you get to the end of the book, you'll see. I really did this without spoiling a lot of stuff for you. You can find about any of this things, like if you first few pages you scan, which you can actually probably read a sample on Amazon anyway. So yes, I enjoyed it. It was great. I hope you would like it as well if you intend or plan to read it, because I really, really was into it. And I will see you in the next one. Enjoy any reading, writing, or movies you're watching, or games you're playing. And I'll see you next time. Stay scared.